Thank you for joining us today. Um, we have a capital access hub, and it is in collaboration with uh, Metropolitan Business League and Bridging Virginia. And so we're going to dive right on in. So next slide, please. All right. So I'm not going to read verbatim every slide, but I am going to read particular ones because I want to drive home some of the points that I want to make today. And starting with credit barriers. Now, statistics illustrate over 42% of small businesses fail due to a lack of cash flow. So I want you to make a note of the term cash flow. And 8 out of 10 Black businesses fail within their first 18 months due to the lack of resources and funds. And not only Black businesses, but that is the statistics that we throw out there because we want businesses to understand just where we're coming from. Many minority businesses lack relationships with traditional banks and fail many times to have adequate credit or strong financial portfolio for securing capital from traditional financial resources. So I want you to make note also of traditional banking relationships because that's important, as well as the term credit, because that's what it's all about right now. You can't pay cash for everything. We have to concentrate on credit. Next slide, please. Now, we need to close the wealth gap, and that will take time. Now, the persistent racial wealth gap in the United States is a burden on Black Americans in particular, as well as the overall economy. And it can be traced back to the Jim Crow era and redlining that prevented Black people from accessing higher paying jobs and home ownership opportunities. So by supporting Black businesses, we increase the flow of wealth to Black families and Black communities. This ultimately helps to close the racial wealth gap over time. And we should not, at this point in time, be talking about Jim Crow era. We should be way past that. But we realize that a lot of these barriers still exist, and we want to talk about how to get past it. Next slide. Now, I mentioned when we started, we have a capital access hub, and it is a collaborative effort between the Metropolitan Business League and Bridging Virginia, and it was launched in January 22 officially. The hub aims to close that capital access gap for historically marginalized and underinvested small businesses. And we do that through a combination of early stage capacity building, technical assistance for capital access, and network growth. And I want you to make a note of technical assistance and networking. These terms are going to be important throughout the discussion. Next slide. Now, we provide financial assistance to businesses applying for capital based on their specific needs and credit. Not every business, even in the same industry, needs the same thing. Not every startup needs the same thing. So we offer a portfolio of emergency grants and microloans and resources for businesses, in addition to application support and financial counseling. Sometimes I understand that small businesses feel like they're so overwhelmed with the work of the day, trying to make it, that they don't have time to take time out for things like this. And this is very important to understand that there are resources, and there are many of them, but you need to know how to access them. So sometimes carve out some time just so that you can understand what's available. Our portfolio of emergency grants is a small thing right now, and we don't advertise it often to our members, but we are available to stand in to help them. And these are repayable grants. And if the small business pays back as agreed, then we use that money and recycle it to help another business. Next slide. Now, this is a flyer that I developed, and I don't think my boss ever really liked it, but I liked it because it was my first one. And there's some things on here that I want to share. For one thing, where we're located, we're in Richmond. We're at 1717 East Carey Street. It tells you all the things that we do. But what I want to draw your attention to are the sponsors. Look at the sponsors: Wells Fargo, Altria, Dominion Energy, Capital One, Bank of America, Genworth, Truist. These are large foundations and corporations and organizations that you may never do business with directly. And you may not have a great opinion of them because they have not been able to help you directly. But the good thing about it, and what I want to point out, is that they sponsor us and organizations like ours so that we can help you. We can meet you where you are. We can be flexible and help you in ways that they're too large to do. So I give a lot of thanks to them because they help us to do the good work that we do. We're in partnership with the City of Richmond, National League of Cities, and an organization called Kiva. And I'm going to tell you a lot about that partnership with Kiva later on in the slides. Next slide, please. Plan to climb that capital ladder. You may think that, oh, I just want grants. Well, grants are not as readily available as they had been. There are still grants out there, and you have to research them. No one's going to just dump them in your lap. Sometimes we try our best. We have even gone door to door to let small businesses in the neighborhood know that we had grants and beg them to apply. There's a little work that's involved at every stage of capital access, but you have to be willing to do it. And I want to point out that, yes, grants are at the bottom rung, and they're very valuable and they're needed. Kiva Loans, which is a 0% crowdfunded loan that we offer as Metropolitan Business League, and we are the only Kiva hub in the state of Virginia. And we're very proud of that. That's like the second rung because it's not based on credit score. It is loosely, we pull a soft credit pull just to see if you're able to repay the loan that you're requesting. Bridging Virginia, that's another micro lender. We're a community lender, and those loans are based on your credit. The good thing about that is that we're flexible. We will give a second look, even if the underwriter said no. We want to be able to do all we can. We may have to make the terms more affordable, but we have loans that range from $25,000 and less and up to $50,000. And we can do a $100,000 loan. We might call in a partner of ours to do that, but we are able to do that, and we're very affordable, and we work with helping with the application process as well. You might have heard of CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions. They're like your credit unions and other organizations like that. You really, when you do that, they make loans that are larger because of the type of entity that they are. And you should check into those. You can Google them. They're everywhere. We deal with a few here. That's the next step for Bridging Virginia, actually, is to become a CDFI lender. Traditional bank loans. Now, I was a banker for over 35 years, and I don't bash banks ever because of that, because I know that the reason sometimes small loans don't get through or it takes so long is because banks are heavily regulated and examined. And in order to mitigate risk for the shareholders, there's a criteria that has to be followed. And it takes just as much time to do a small business loan as it takes to do a large one. So when you get to the point where you can just call up a bank and say, hey, you know who I am because we have a banking relationship. This is how much I want. Could be millions of dollars. And they know that they can get it because their credit is good and they have the documents that are going to be required. You have to be getting ready for that point in time as well. Make sure that you have your documents ready. Next slide. That's me, Sharon Grooms, Capital Access Manager, and I joined the MBL in January 2022. Like I said, after 35 years in banking, and I had the same clientele basically, well, same type, small businesses, minority-owned, women-owned businesses, and individuals. And I remember saying no so many times, or not right now, that it just became like it was just too much. But now that I'm in this role, I'm able to help more because we're not restrained like we were at that point. So I'm responsible for identifying and assessing borrowers' capital needs. Not everybody needs the same thing. I make referrals to other organizations, and I try to make sure that when I refer someone, is somebody's going to actually be able to help them free, low fees, or whatever, just to make sure that you get what you need in a timely fashion. I assist with originating, processing, and underwriting the loan applications for small businesses because sometimes you know exactly what your industry requires, what your business needs, but you don't have the time or you may not have the expertise to put together your loan package. So we assist with that. We don't do everything for you, but we do as much as we can to get you where you need to go. And if you provided a document that just does not make sense or it needs a little work, that's where we dive in to make sure that you get the help you need, because a lot of times it's just presentation. Next slide. Now, I think I might have some of my slides a little out of order, but I want to talk about Kiva's eligibility requirements. Business owners need to be 18 years old at least. They need to have a PayPal account or create one. Cannot be in an active bankruptcy or foreclosure or under liens. And there are certain types of businesses that are ineligible for these 0% interest rate loans. Gun shops, cigarette sellers, Primerica, Tupperware, Uber drivers, those are not eligible, but other businesses are. You can have a restaurant that sells alcohol. For some reason that's not excluded, but I understand that. And these things can change, but right now that's what's in place. The most successful borrowers are tech able and responsive. Because you apply online for Kiva, you're going to be contacted that way. I may pick up the phone and call you as your capital access manager, but we're going to respond back and forth a lot of times by text or email. So you have to be responsive. Otherwise, it's going to take a while to get your loan done. You need to have a business plan. If you don't already have a business plan, don't think that that's something that, is just not important. It is very important. It's supposed to be representative of how your business operates. And as a trustee, we are a trustee. That means we endorse your Kiva loan. We don't guarantee it, but we say, hey, we believe in this business owner right here for whatever reasons. And that helps you get a larger Kiva loan. And you need a strong supporter network because the loans are crowdfunded. And it's easy. I've only had 1 out of 30 some loans that did not make it. And I believe wholeheartedly in the way that the process goes. Next slide. Now, like I said, I want to impress upon you that these Kiva loans are 0% interest rate loans. They range from $1,000 to $15,000. They can be for working capital, purchasing equipment, hiring someone. Because the loans are not based on credit, you may apply for 15,000 and not get 15. You may get 10. The largest one I've done so far has been 12,000. The loans really have been averaging about $7,000, but you can borrow a second time from Kiva after you pay the first one back. And the CAM, Capital Access Manager, assists the Kiva applicants with the technical assistance. I screen the loan, I help you with the crowdfunding so that you can be successful. And it is really a fun thing actually to go through. Next slide. It's not the I have a lot of restaurants, have some folks who are just getting into construction or they're consultants, they're into beauty, health, and wellness. They're my typical borrower. And the criteria is that you just have to be able to fundraise. And it's not all on you. There are a lot of folks that are out here to help you. And it's like over a million people in what I call Kiva land. And you have to have a great profile. That's where I come in. I make sure that it looks wonderful, that it is impressive. And then you need to repay. You need to repay because you can opt into credit reporting. The smaller the loan, of course, the faster you're going to fundraise. Pre-startups, they're a little more risky, so those loans can be smaller. The priority is for women, veterans, and minority-owned business owners. So if you're interested, you can just, contact us, go online, check it out. But Kiva is a good first start. Next slide. And like I've already said all of this before, but I just want to impress upon you that Kiva is a global nonprofit that provides 0% interest rate loans, been around since 2005. A lot of people haven't heard about it, but it is an excellent source of capital. Next slide. Now, Bridging Virginia, I told you I work for them too. We're all in there together, and they're a new type of lender, and I'm going to tell you about them. Next slide, please. We try to provide the right tools at the right time. So we're Community Development Loan Fund, and we're proud to provide that access to affordable capital, as well as technical assistance for historically marginalized small businesses. Next slide. Every business owner needs BAIL, B-A-I-L. B stands for business bank account. You need it. If you don't have it, you have to separate your finances from your personal. You need an accountant. You need insurance. You need legal representation. You need these things. And I have a note here that technical assistance may also be needed. I should really change that. It is needed because you will need help maybe developing your website. You may need bookkeeping assistance. You may need to understand how to use that QuickBooks. There are so many things that you could need help with that you don't know. Next slide. Now, with Bridging Virginia, we have different criteria, but look, I said personal tax returns. I meant to put personal and business tax returns because when you're a small business, you're going to need to provide your personal tax returns, whether you have a business or not, because it's going to be dependent on your global debt service coverage ratio, which means looking at everything. So you're going to need 1 year for a smaller loan. You're going to need 2+, more like 3 years if you've been in business that long, tax returns. So always have your tax returns ready, saved electronically, proof of your income. You're going to need to save those business bank statements, personal bank statements electronically. Get used to doing that. You're going to need to have a personal financial statement. SBA and others, they have templates for that. But you're going to need to have your business formation document that you get through State Corporation Commission. Keep these things at hand because you're going to need them, and there's no point in things that are should be readily available holding you up from the application process. Next slide. A few hard truths, and I'm almost at the end of my presentation, but I do want to go over these things because these are things we need to know and think about and impress upon ourselves. It is your responsibility to fund your own business. Don't say, oh, well, nobody's trying to help me, because it's your business, it's your baby, and you're responsible. Maybe you should not quit your 9-to-5 prematurely, because if your 9-to-5 pays your bills and make sure you can live your life the way you're comfortable with, then don't get rid of that and start something risky and not have that revenue stream. You need to make sure that you are able to take care of your lifestyle. Your financial documents paint a picture about your business. Don't think that your balance sheet and your income statement, profit and loss statement, whatever, that they're not important. They say something about you, even your bank accounts. Credit is always a key factor for anyone seeking funding. Credit is always there. No matter if the interest rate is 0%, is not based on a credit score. It's still your whatever debt you have out there, subtracting that from your revenue, it's going to tell how much you can afford or whether you pay people back. You can improve your credit rating, but it takes some time. You should reevaluate your cost of operations and pricing, because cost of goods goes up. Your business needs to reflect that. Most very successful people have failed in business at least once. So don't think that you are a failure if your business is not going the way that it should, because you may have another idea, or you may be able to tweak that idea. You may need technical assistance before you take on that. I want to say you will need it. Your business idea can start out as your side hustle in the beginning. Just like I said, just make sure that you take your time and you do things the right way. And hopefully that will be a strong foundation for which on which to build. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I do want to let you know that Floyd E. Miller II is our president and CEO of the Metropolitan Business League. He's been at the helm for over 5 years now, and he's taken us to new heights. Leah Fremal, CEO of Bridging Virginia, our community lender, and she is doing a wonderful job. She's taking us to leaps and bounds too. And I, Sharon Anderson-Grooms, am your Capital Access Manager. And the best way to contact me is through my email, sgrooms@thembl.org, and you can call me as well. And then there's some resources here on the side that you can take advantage of. I particularly want you to check out the MBL's website. Thank you.